What up, my freaks? RuinousInsight here with part 18 of my Total War Warhammer 3 modded Lokhir Fellheart Old World campaign. So as we saw last time, while our Black Arcs were patrolling down all the world's coastlines, Admiral Balthanal Shadowdart ran into the terrors of the Dark Straits led by Capitano Sissoko and promptly obliterated that fairly elite vampire coast force. Without basically any losses, or at the very least not too many losses for his rather elite at this point army. Pretty darn solid. Otherwise, we are now on a new turn. The admin, or at the very least the moving of the heroes, is done, and we got stuff to do. Looks like Boris Todbringer and Karl Franz have both heard about what happened at Altdorf and have arrived to, I don't know, take it back. Perhaps a race to the capital to see who deserves to be emperor. Maybe that's what's going on here. All I know is that Boris doesn't have too much of an army, but I'm wondering if we can auto-resolve it, considering the fact that we still have to proceed to Karlberg with the Lokhir, and well, let's find out. Let's just see. Oh, and also last episode, if anybody was screaming at their screen, yes, I forgot to have Cameron attack Urlach, but well, what can you do? We'll deal with that shortly. Anyway, Lokhir, we'll start with you, sir. Go to Kutenholz. Let's see what we got going on here. Again, the actual army under Boris is kind of meh, but they don't particularly like the medium casualties. On the other hand, is there anything here really worth fighting? Bunch of basic garbage. Karl's is much better. Especially if he should stay here to defend Karlberg, which has a decent pile of defenders, plus some Knights Panther, which apparently... Oh, it's a garrison unit. I was like, wait, why are they 0 upkeep? Yeah, when combined, that army is much better, but without it, it's meh. Yeah, you know, this is weaker than the garrison we fought at Altdorf or the South Bank, and they're in Marchtown, so I think we're just going to auto-resolve it. Let's see how much the damage is. Yeah, it's alright. Alright, we will sack the place for a decent amount of cash value. Another Dark Star Cloak, which is lovely for certain armies. You can pop back into City North then, and we'll see how Karl reacts to all this. Will he stay at Karlberg and attempt to defend it? Oh, you know what, actually, sit just outside of the place. Actually, heal us. Alright, fine, sit there. I was going to say channel instead, but you're fine. Alrighty, let's see about everybody else. So Cameron, you're going to attack in, I was going to say in a second, but there's a decent likelihood that I'll just forget again, so I think we just straight up attack. We have walls, but otherwise, I think we should have no problem here. Druki first strike, shall we? Yes, we shall. Away we go. Alrighty, here we go. Alright, hopefully, okay, I've got some noises outside from cars or constructions or something, I don't know, but hopefully it's not too bad. Anyway, here we go. This time, while this is technically a pretty much all-range-based army under Cameron, we do have actual siege towers to make use of. The siege towers are full of our Black Arc Corsairs with handbows, which are pretty adept in melee, and they can fire at the enemies while fighting up there. It's one of the great things about these hybrid sort of close-quarter infantry, pistol, handbow, etc. units, that they can go up on a wall and then fire while up there, and fight as well. Which is pretty nice. Anyway, Cameron's going to start the day. He started off as a very, very weak lord over the course of the battle, as in he personally, constantly getting stuck on his single Scourge Runner without support and getting beaten up. But ever since he switched to the Manticore, he's been dueling enemies and been acting a lot more as a single unit. Doesn't mean we won't provide him at least some support, however, as a Cascading Fire Cloak will completely counter the fact that Dark Elves have, again, super low melee defense, bringing him up to 91 and being perfectly capable of dueling the enemy noble up here, while the towers continue to make their way towards the wall. The noble is down to about 30% of his HP, and Cameron appears to be fine as well. I'm gonna get off a few spells while we're at it. A Flamestorm in the midst of the enemy units while we're trying to hit the range really here, but if it kills off a few spears or Silver and Guard, I'm perfectly happy as well. Alright, and actually that was a pretty good flamestorm there. We've also opened a breach in the enemy walls. The towers will arrive to the sides of the breach, but we can send monsters like our Medusa through, as well as our Dark Riders, should we need to. I do really like the Dark Elven towers as well. They look pretty nice. I think probably one of the nicer looking towers. Like, I really don't understand why the devs didn't basically just take sort of this model and use it as part of the like buildable structure designs, or at least, you know, part of this model. You could just do that. Couldn't you just cut off the wheels and you're basically done? Have this thing just fire at the enemy. I mean, if that's if they didn't want to use the actual, you know, Dark Elven towers that are part of the wall to make the constructible towers. I don't know. I just find the what they did with the structures very strange. There was a mod that changed all the constructible structures to, you know, and be flavored to their specific faction. I don't remember if it still works or not, but I remember that there was one. But conceptually, it always just bothered me because they already have the assets. Just put them there. I don't know, man. Anyway, not that it's a big deal or makes any kind of real major difference to the gameplay, so an ultra minor complaint. Anyway, the Dark Elves have arrived, whether it be through the breaches in the enemy wall, whether it be through the magics raining down upon the High Elves, showing our own mastery of the arcane, and backed by the power of Dar, as well as, of course, on top of the walls themselves, with the Black Ark Corsairs. Hopefully they will make quick work of the Silvern Guard here, or spears. Alright. It's going to take a little bit of a while, maybe. The enemy does have a fair bit of a melee defense on them after all, but all good. And in the meantime, of course, these are not the only units working. Gotta remember we have the Harpies in this army as well, led by our Sorceress of Fire. She's going to Vile-net these Illyrian Reavers, and rather than letting them charge in to attack the Harpies while they're going after archers, we're going to preempt that. Cammering is going to join them for a little bit of fun, and the Harpies and Cammering will tear through those Illyrian Reavers, preventing them from getting any advantage out of their charge bonus, as the extremely fragile light cav will get torn apart and disappear, like they were never here. High Elven Archers will be next, and our other Harpies are going to move away, as while they were destroying another unit of archers, some Lothern Sea Guard and Spearmen have moved to deal with them. Our Dark Riders, rather, have moved to support us over on the sort of right flank, over the wall here. Though it looks like the breach is pretty much done. There is still a little bit of a melee going on between the Corsairs, Medusa, and whatever defenders the enemy has here, Rangers and spears and the like. But I'd wager it won't last all that long. And of course, our Reaper Bolt Throwers are also taking advantage of that little breach in the walls, probably helping it land a few extra shots that might otherwise have smashed into the wall there. There we go, very nice attack from the Medusa there, and of course Medusa are pretty darn quick and apply poison and melee, so the enemy's going to have a bad time running. More Harpies are moving on in, got to be careful about the Reaper Bolt Throwers landing any shots on them. Yep, should have probably just commanded them to target a specific unit rather than whatever they pleased. And have now switched them like so. Gonna drop a quick little burning head through the enemies just before charging in with more Corsairs. And the enemy's under assault from every single direction. A pretty darn hectic little battlefield here for the High Elves. Perhaps they weren't expecting to see Dark Elves so close to ELFTOWN, so deep into the Empire. But it is what it is. With that, the elves here break and the battle is ours. I don't see ELFTOWN expanding. Alrighty, there we go. Looks like Tarmanov Din Shaban was defeated here, and he's the Lord of the Continental Exarchate faction, and thus I don't think they'll recover from that one. We got 4,000 gold for our trouble, lots of work for our Blackheart Corsairs, and surprisingly, Free Company Militia and Blackheart Blades, and doing particularly well, as, well, they were sent up the walls, unusually, to do a little bit of work coming out of those siege towers. Ooh, great work for the Muse of Terror in addition to that, and out of the artillery, well, admittedly they didn't do too much, but long spear distribution was still able to, well, distribute many a spear. Yes, it's kind of pointless to sack the place, because we effectively get nothing. I'll just occupy it. I don't know that we're going to bother holding on to it, but for now we'll just hold the territory that was previously held by the High Elves, just because it amuses us. Anyway, we'll immediately upgrade you to the Dark Hold, I guess, and you know what, let's increase the growth via Slave Drive. And Breakwater, why did I build you? You're supposed to be a defensive structure. Anyway, we'll maybe grab Klessen and Erlach, and then we'll see about the rest. Maybe abandon everything around it, make sort of a little buffer around these territories. Really, it's Palaspert that we want, and mostly for the big ol' harbor here. But anyway, I digress. Let's see what else we've got. Sirare, you and your inability to... Oh, you gotta cross the water, river. Okay, well, cross the river then. Maybe I should have just occupied Barrows of Quila and traded it to these guys. Huh. You know what? Go occupy Barrows of Quila. I figure we could get a decent chunk of change for it from the orcs. Better than nothing. And we got a free Razor Standard out of it. Alright, that was immediately worth it. Occupy the place in its current form and then trade it next turn. A Razor Standard, probably not for you, because we already have one, and that specific one is for the Ice Blades, but the rest probably don't need it. Though, admittedly, pumping up the Bleak Swords might not be the worst idea in the world either. I'll think about it. For now, though. Let's keep going. So, Alarian. Ooh, hello. Beaumont the Savior with a decent pile of Knights Errant is here. Good for him. What do we have here? Definitely get Kindle the Fury. Melee attack plus 10, weapon damage plus 20%. A fairly considerable amount, I gotta say. We have Blackheart Corsairs, and then... What buffs the... Okay, it's Kaldi Unworthy. And then, I think nothing else in this particular army. Again, it's a rather basic army that was only meant to defend. Admittedly, it's not just defended. We do have buffs we could get out of Raid Leader here, potentially. You know, considering how long this army's been around, I'm almost tempted to just upgrade you into a Shielded Dark Shard. And then, I just say almost tempted and then I do it. And then just give you the Bolt Fiends. You've been doing okay. Grab the Bolt Fiends for yourself. There you go. They also have a pretty significant increase in range, and at least this way, you can engage in a shootout with the peasants and well, not really get damaged at all. A Raid Leader will be good. Lashmaster is not needed here, however, so let's go through Raid Leader. Alright. And I guess we'll give them a chance to sally out, so let's besiege Castle Artois. We could obviously kill them from range, and... Oh, wow. Even like this, it's a low cash? Okay, yeah, then we're not gonna bother. Again, it was designed as an auto-resolve army, so we will generally be auto-resolving with it, because it's a basic troops, but anyway. I like this. Nice little bit of sacking. And we'll see if Lewin himself comes back around. I thought I saw him generating an army somewhere, but I no longer remember where, so... I'm sure we'll see him again. Anyway, Velatroth, you're fine where you are. Duriath Hellbane, oh yes, you've leveled up, meaning let's get you. I guess Revered Name of Power? Last time the Aristocratic Name of Power gave us two very much military names, but then if we get the wrong one, it'll be an actual not... It's just a Revered Name of Power. Let's see what he gets. Moon Shadow and Granite Stance. Okay, so the two generic ones, essentially. And I prefer Granite Stance to Moon Shadow, I think. Don't get me wrong, speed is great. It's just that we already have pretty immense speed on most of our units. Spell Resistance and Granite Stance, eh? That probably works with the sort of generic kind of traits that we've got here. We could probably build you an army. Oh. Just recruit Medusa and Spears. I mean, it'll work if that's the way we want to do it, but anyway. We'll wait a teensy bit. You can sit here and maybe recruit out of this place. Frankly, if we could build a Black Ark next turn, that would probably solve this problem a little bit. Anyway, Viltroth, I just checked you. Duriath, I just did as well. Admiral Kinwovale, you... Alright, we had the choice of going immediately for Chibukov or going all the way down to Erengrad right here. Wait, are we actually able to... Erengrad's a great port. Yeah, wait. Let's sack this place first. Maybe Alexandrinov. It's not like we won't be back there anyway. Sack it, please. Actually, what's the coastline here looking like? We've got Chibukov and Alexandrinov, both of which are actually ports, so in theory we could capture them if we wanted to. Do we need territory here, I guess is the real question. And the answer is I'm not entirely sure as yet, so we can always come back. Alright, hey, another envoy, which I guess means you already have an envoy, so let's pick another Black Ark at random. You, Dekunkar. You don't have an envoy. And that's why we picked it random. And Evil Choir Master makes me laugh every time. Anyway, you go to Castle Alexandrinov, but also pick up that Sea Corpse while you're on the way. This poor coastline. Loot the carcass. Alright, and auto-resolve, please. And I guess heal up. Anything interesting out of this? Just a little bit of cash, and I see no other army. Are you able to reach Castle Alexandrinov? Not quite. So just sit there, heal to full, and then hit that place next turn. Now, it's barely worth moving to. But yeah, it is a great port, so if we wanted to, we could actually occupy it here. Kind of like what we've done with Britonia. I do wonder whether Kastalton will move to... Oh, wow. He's having a bad time fighting the orcs, I guess? Somebody. Having a bad time fighting somebody. Anyway, Duriath, Granite Stance, and... Oh, right. Your name changed, so I got confused by who you are. Balthanal, I guess it's time for you to move again. Alright, so after Capitano Sissoko, I guess we're going to go by the coastline. Oh, can grab this little mysterious island real quick, and then move southward to sack Newland and Trogland again. You're responsible for keeping the Albion Bowl on Albion, effectively. So grab that real quick. Mushroom Stew, Mathland's Blessing, always, and go southward. Should be on to Newland rather quick, and since it's their last territory, that should actually wipe them out. And then I assume these guys won't like us sacking Trogland again. We'll see how well the Hargoneth faction can handle itself now. We've kind of effectively won the Albion Bowl for them by taking out all the capitals of all three of their enemy factions, right? We sacked Trogland repeatedly, we sacked Newland repeatedly, and we sacked and destroyed the Tower of Lenog, which meant that these guys can't really build anything. Oh, I guess they're trying to rebuild a new, essentially, province where they can recruit stuff out of the Great Ohm. Maybe these guys can take it from them, though. We shall see. Anyway, Admiral Caleth, you're next. You're still recruiting for one more turn? Huh. It does look like Malice is on the way to the, to capture the oil rigs. Admittedly, I don't care that much about them, so, I'll think about it. We could trade it. Whatever. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, Admiral Caleth, you just sit there while you're... Okay, you're really starting to lose HP, but whatever. What can you do? Moksha. What are you gonna do? We could grab... I mean, we do need these territories anyway. Palispert is rank 2. I mean, all of the... Oh, Swedok is just a free territory because it's not occupied. Alright. What about Twern? Are you able to reach any of these places? I want to see if you might be able to reach ELFTOWN from where you are. It would be good if we could grab both. You'd be able to come here next turn anyway, so it doesn't matter that much, but find out in a second. Nah, you're just out of range. Alright, fair enough. You can then grab Palispert.
Sail, damn you!
Sail, damn you, indeed. Alrighty, and then obviously we're auto-resolving that, because it's a waste of our time and effort. We will... still get 4k for sacking it, why not? And then occupy it. Alright, Ransacker for Admiral Moksha, rank 29 as well, not doing too bad there. Alright, and occupy. This is the main reason we came... Well, actually, the real main reason we came here was to take ELFTOWN, but we've already destroyed the faction, essentially, so they're not as concerning as they once were. Repair. And we've already popped the slave drive, so we got the growth going, and the additional ports will increase that growth even further, which is lovely. Alright. Who's up next? Wait, do we need to build anything in your army? We do not. Do we need anything in yours? I guess we could go for the dragon tower like so. And you are waiting for tier 5, so we can't do anything there. Alright, just sit there. Oh, funnily enough, I wonder if he would have been able to reach it if he had had Root Marcher. Do you not need anything? Wait, Twern, you do. You need to favor the fortunate. You need... Well, actually, it depends on whether we keep the bolters or not, but we do need Confer Bloodlust as well. You will need Lashmaster for the Charybdises. You will need Night Lord for the Knights. Frankly, a lot of stuff. So I don't know what you're doing, man. I guess we'll do Night Lord next. Yeah, let's do Night Lord. I was wondering whether Night Lord or Lashmaster, but frankly, Night Lord, Slaughter Lord, and Linebreaker, they all give melee defense and melee attack. That's much better than the little bit of charge bonus and weapon strength. For the Charybdises, it's really not that much. Anyway, I just want to double check. Did the additional movement range allow us to reach ELFTOWN? It did! Oh, wow, that's fantastic. And, oh! I mean, they do have some stuff here. I don't really care about the reinforcements, but, I'm tempted to fight it. Is it a minor settlement? I don't know, let's find out. Let's fight it.
Slay them!
Alrighty, here we go. We've arrived at ELFTOWN itself. A little bit of that hated white marble architecture of the High Elves in the Empire, though we'll see it torn down and rebuilt better soon enough. Here we go. We're going to lead the way up the ramp with the Cold One Dread Knights, with the Knights of the Ebon Claw in the lead. Decent amount of HP, and one of the few units in the roster that have solid melee defense, so we're free to engage with the Cold One Dread Knights in melee, and whether it be Lothern Seaguard or Silvern Guard or Spears, the anti-large will not make quick work of them. Alright, there we go. We're going to charge on in and probably get stuck for a little while, but the lethal poison and the maws of the cold ones will make sure that that matters not. Besides, we're here to just make sure that the enemy is stuck and not able to move down that ramp while more of our units make their way forward. Now remember, Twern's army here is based on stacking different kinds of contact effects. So we've got lethal poison on the Dread Knights, we've got the Charybdises and Black Arc Reavers with toxic venom. We've got bleed on the bleeding ballet and the other units of Sisters of Slaughter. The Death Hag has been given the inevitable end weapon, which prevents healing altogether, and I believe our Lord, who's coming in to bring up the rear, has the Venom Blade, which gives slow death as well. Plus, on top of that, the Flock of Doom to deliver more sort of trickle damage. And basically, lots and lots of entities taking tons of damage from various sources. And of course, that's all just combining contact effects, where I'm not even talking about the damage coming in from the whips and the blades and the maws of the Charybdises and whatnot. Anyway, Black Arc support comes down on the enemy archers as they try us. The units of White Lions are fighting back to back in a little blob, but that is not super effective as we simply drop Black Arc support right in the midst of them, obliterating them. The units of Cold One Dread Knights have pretty much broken through 2 units of the Spears now, and only the Lothern Seaguard. Oh, actually, Gate Guard remain. Gate Guard, an absolutely ridiculously overpowered unit, incidentally, but pretty much done for now, either way. Alright, lethal poison and bleed on them. I guess the Charybdis is not getting through here, not that it matters over much. Some eagles have closed the distance, but that's not going well for them either. Slow death, toxic venom, and bleed, but I think this isn't so much a slow death as a quick one, as those eagles went down pretty much as they went in. Same thing over on this side, however. We've peeled away a couple of units of Sisters of Slaughter to deal with some archers and some spears, but it looks like the enemy decided to move one of the enemy units of eagles to support. Good for them. A bleed-causing unit versus a bleed-causing unit, and Sisters of Slaughter being gladiators, probably used to fighting beasts like eagles and such in the pits. I recall there was a sort of sporting little game, well, not by the Sisters of Slaughter, but I remember there was like a kind of game played by Cold One Knights in the Malice Darkblade novels. I don't remember exactly what the goal is other than killing the most slaves, but it was some kind of competition about that. Are they picking up their heads or something? I don't know, but you get the idea. What you can probably imagine in the Dark Elf arena and using Cold One Riders. And I assume somebody was keeping score, but I guess it's maybe not that difficult. But anyway, spears are now surrounded. The first unit of eagles has been destroyed, and it looks like the archers are fleeing rather than support the brave spears that are holding to cover their retreat. Unfortunately for the archers, and the Sisters of Slaughter should be able to just catch up should they need to. And they're pretty darn quick with 50 move speed after all, and their high melee defense means that the spears are unlikely to do much, if any, damage to them. Over in the back line, we've found one unit of runners. We're not really using the reinforcing units like the Cold One chariots, and just brought them in for to make sure they catch any runners. And it looks like they'll serve that purpose here. Bleed, Toxic Venom, and Inevitable will end appropriately applied to these runners, and it looks like the battle is just about ours. ELFTOWN having no real defense against one army, much less two, even if we're not really using that one. But anyway, alright, let's speed this up a little bit. We have... there's another unit. And hey, the Cold One Knights. I was talking about them having a little sport here. And they'll close the distance with some gate guard, which are actually likely to potentially, at least, give them a good fight. Again, gate guard being pretty insanely strong. But also being kind of like support units. I remember putting just like a couple of them in most ranged armies I could in the Imric campaign, mostly because of this bolstered marksmanship trait to nearby allies with a 60-meter effect range, which is pretty solid compared to the 40-meter that we're kind of used to. Yeah, they're pretty darn nice. And again, you could just build full armies out of them, but that would be just insanely overpowered for the same reason I didn't do more than 6 shades in one particular army, because that would also be overpowered. Alright, and there we go. With that, the last of the enemy units will break. The army is done, the battle is ours, and ELFTOWN will fall. Alright, there we go. The Sisters of Slaughter certainly lived up to their name here. 19,000 damage, 23,000 damage, very appropriate. And of course the Knights of the Ebon Claw led the other Cold One Dread Knights, and sort of as the vanguard, they absorbed a fair bit of damage, and admittedly were sort of hampered by the close confines and inability to maneuver within the enemy settlement, but that's alright. The Charybdises, they got damaged. Unlike the Hydras, they have no way to regenerate, and thus took a decent bit of damage, but that's pretty much always going to be the case when you use Charybdises against armies with range. They do have an increased amount of armor and melee defense compared to Hydras to make up for their lack of regeneration, but that does mean they can still be pincushioned if you're not careful. And of course, good job to the Bleeding Ballet. Anyway, we are going to... If we sack it... we won't be able to come back, so I think we're going to have to forego the money this time. I guess we'll just loot and occupy. I'd rather not forego the turn. Loot and occupy. Better than nothing. Alright, there we go. And repair, and don't collect the income, and go immediately into highborn hostages, and then... I mean, I guess we don't really need the growth here, do we? You know what? Let's immediately counteract it with fights to the death. We capture the city, and then immediately make all the remaining High Elves fight to the death. Maybe the one last survivor can join the Dark Elves. Anyway, Dark Steed. Wand of Jet Channeling Staff, and hey, another factor. Nice. Do you have a factor, Twern? I assume you do by virtue of the fact that... yeah, okay, fine. What about Moksha? Do you have a factor? You do have a factor. Oh, for the love of... okay. Yo, Carrier, I bet you don't have a factor. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Okay. Exarian, there's no... oh, for the love of... I was about to say, there's no way that you don't have this every single... Okay, these guys are new. I never gave factors to you. Yeah, alright. Should have just gone to them immediately instead of whatever that nonsense was. Also, did I give Recruiter Server Die? And let's give you a High Elf Slave for additional bonuses and Evil Choir Master. Somebody has to have the Evil Choir Master, otherwise it feels like a waste. Alright, ELFTOWN. You're good. Commandments being done. Huh, wait, was there another place where we need to commandment something? Whatever. That looks good. And then you two will go into Dread Expansion, though there is nothing else you need to build, at least until you're at Gargantuan Black Arc level. You're actually a fairly expensive Black Arc, at least for now. Eventually, we will get you the Quartermaster, which will drop down the cost, but I guess you do have Cold One Dread Knights and the Knights of the Ebon Claw, which alone are 612 gold, so unsurprising that you're so expensive. Anyway, let's see who else needs to be doing this stuff and things today. Caliph, I think we've moved. Oh, no, wait, he can't move, that's why. Dekunkar, I think I checked. Oh, right, Altar of the Crimson Harvest and Boris Ursus, huh?
I serve Kislev.
Certainly tempting, but we might not have time for it, and we might want to save it for next episode. I will think about it. Let's just see what else we have. You're pretty much done in terms of buildings, so you're free to move. Xarian is kind of almost done. One more building to be building. So let's build it, and then let's move you south. We've got to get the sort of sword army doing sword things, as one does. They've been studying the blade for 85 turns now. They gotta actually put them to use. Carrier, yeah, you're pretty much done. You have your Gargantuan Black Arc. You're only missing a military structure. Alright, so go here. You have to keep the arena, but you have to get rid of your growth rate building because it serves no purpose in your army. Like so. It's our mobile recruitment Black Arc. Admiral Lucius is good, and wait, I did not move Omnamba, did I? Wait, did I? Yeah, it was Omnamba. Alright, so Omnamba. Where did... I thought there was... I could have sworn there was another little army out here. Ugh, okay. Koval, go find it. Sword was right here. Ah, there it is. We saw it at the start of the episode, and then it disappeared. Oh, I can't reach it anyway, but I guess start moving towards it. Like so. Let's pop you into Enormous Black Arc, and... Wait. Let me just see here. We need, at the very least, a couple of Black Arc Reavers in this army, and definitely a Sorceress. You can't build Sorceresses as yet, or recruit Sorceresses as yet, but we can do it with Omnamba, I suppose. The question then lies in what we want in terms of type of Sorceress. I think small single entities might be kind of an issue, so maybe Death would be a good option for you. Masochistic gives you Paragon of Excess, which is enemy melee attack reductions if enemies move towards you. Yeah, I could do that. You probably shouldn't be fighting in melee, so yeah, we'll do Death for you. This will be our second Death Sorceress. We have several... wait, what kind of Sorceress would you want? You, I think, are still kind of Beast Sorceress coded, mostly because we need potentially anti-range abilities. Though Dark Sorceress could work in theory, as you could simply destroy enemy range units via Blade Wind instead, so that we don't go so heavy on the Dark Sorceress, or on the Beast Sorceresses. Admittedly, I do like them a lot. Alright, fine, we'll go Master of the Winds here. Too bad we can't get you guys starting at higher levels, but it's all good. There we go. Now both of you will have sorceresses. I would also like... Guiding Eye might be good with this one, but Sons of Murder, Deadly Corsair, Sworn First Mate, we could thus get... Toxic Venom, eh? You know what? Let's do you, Sworn First Mate. I like the idea of using a couple of Toxic Venom ones in this army, because if we give them the... Okay, first of all, Seeking Corsairs. If we give them a Sword and Handbow, they will have Sword and Handbow with the Toxic Venom application, so while they kite, they'll be able to do additional damage, and I think that'll be quite nice. You know what, I'll deal with the point attribution otherwise. And then we have another Son of Murder of the Deadly Corsair variant. We do want some in here, because it feels wrong not to have at least one, so I guess we'll get you one as well. Alright, Sons of Murder, Deadly Corsair, you're going to have to catch up to this army, but I want you on field. Anyway, you... I think we were going to ignore Ramas, yes, because it's 4 turns until it's tier 5, which means we could just capture it at tier 4, which would be great. Ah, hello. Oh, you're also just out of range. Oh, I'm so sick of these little freaking armies. You know what we need? We need Lord of the Sea, because it'll give us a 25% campaign movement range increase, and thus we'd be able to catch them that little bit better. So yeah, definitely. Okay, wait. Signu Corsairs. Alright. Just that little extra bit of growth rate, and we'll try to get a few more Black Ark Reavers on field. Anyway, that was Omnamba. Omnambaram, you Iliarch, and you Lucius. Okay, Lucius is recruiting. Iliarch, however, is not. You are going to grab this island. So many islands around here. It's so good. Probably should have sent a Black Ark down here a little bit earlier, but what can you do? Resolve, and then heal up. Alright, and hey, another materials at sea. We just got it going, if not quite permanently, for a long time now. Now, you wanted to recruit some stuff. We do have to be a little bit careful about it. This is another island. I do want to move an A if it isn't the Dread Fleet still around here, right? And oh, they haven't done so badly for themselves. Strength rank 73 in settlements. It's adorable. Anyway, Iliarch, I would like you to go into Dread Expansion. I would like you to build the Soul Furnace and the Bloodrack Cauldron. You will eventually, in fact, I lied, you will right now need to get that Sorceress Cabin up and running. And then what we will want to do is combine some of these guys. I mean, I guess it's more of these that we want to get rid of, but anyway. Combine some of these guys and... Okay, get rid of you. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's good enough. And then we'll get rid of you too. Like so. And did I get rid of 2? Okay, whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, Iliarch, I'm sorry, but you're going to be stuck here for a while. Is there anything else you want to recruit? This is the Krakenlord Claw army. Man, the doubling up is going to be so ridiculous on the Creeping Dread in particular, because they benefit from both. Well, I guess handbows do as well, generally speaking. But not only are these guys stronger than your average run-of-the-mill Black Ark Corsairs, they'll also double dip into armor-piercing weapon damage and armor-piercing missile damage, which is going to make them pretty insane. Their weapon strength, they hit nearly as hard as executioners, and their missile strength at 102 is probably more than... It's twice that of the Shades, and we've seen how effective Shades are. Granted, it's at least in part because of their range and their stock ability, but this is still pretty darn nasty. Anyway, this looks pretty good. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We will need a Sorceress, and maybe, well, a Black Ark Reaver, definitely. Probably 2 Black Ark Reavers. It will cut down on the amount of these guys, but we'll deal with that later. I was just saying that there is probably nothing here that we'd need to recruit. I'm at least a little bit tempted by a couple of Reaper Bolt Throwers, just because, you know what, we get 1. I don't want to cut it down too much. On the other hand, these are replacing handbows, so maybe. We need to potentially be able to bring down walls and stuff. Let's just do a couple of Reaper Bolt Throwers. Alright, looks good to me. And then this army is going to be considerably stronger, and then you will get replaced by a Sorceress, and then maybe that'll be good. Something along those lines, anyway. Anyway. Let's see. After Iliarch, was there anybody else? Was there anybody important? And Karond Kar, yeah, I think we're just going to save you for next time. Xarian, we've moved. Okay, it's just so weird that you look like you have movement range remaining, but you don't. And the game is lying. Bane, ooh, yes, upgrade to Gargantuan Black Ark, please. And then you two will both need your support buildings. You're getting ready to move very soon, so you just need to max yourselves out and get ready to go. Probably a couple turns away, and I guess that is it. You know, if we fight this fight now, what we will get out of that is I'll be able to end the turn, probably between the episodes, and that will get us the ability to allow me to do the interior ammunition stores, please. Allow me to do some of the admin between the episodes. Infamous Raider, Dreaded Slaver, Draft Master. I'm gonna forget one of these. Wait, who is this? This is Karond Kar, the Grey Vanquisher. He has Ravager rewards, and Ravager rewards. Okay, so everybody in the army has Ravager rewards. I see why I didn't go any further with these points. Lashmaster does not help us, but wait.
Lord of the Black Court.
Chiefmaster would. Then Blackheart Corsairs with handbows are here. And yeah, fine. We'll go Chiefmaster for them at least. Then we'll go for Infamous Raider. Alright. I knew there was at least one thing that this army was missing. Anyway, let's do this fight real quick. Death Hag, you are going to pop into... max out Replenished Troops, go for Renowned and then Impassioned. No, I lied. Every time I forget Bride of Cain. It's such a critical thing, and I always forget it. Alright, there we go. Considering they tend to get pin-cushioned. You Sorceress, I would like Wild Heart, Vissen's Wild Form. Those are the spammables, and let's get a couple points in Curse of Anra here, because it's really useful. Then, you go Anra there. Alright, Pyrrhic Victory. Hey, that's what I like to see. Boris Ursus himself, he's got a Frostworm to be concerned with. War Bear Riders, very concerning as well. Let's see how we do. Oh, is this a minor settlement battle? I think it is. Whatever. Alrighty, here we go. Looks like Boris Ursus is gonna come in as a reinforcement while the rest of his army is penned up in the enemy settlement. That works, I guess, well for us here. Unfortunately, that means Boris Ursus is going to be on the receiving end of a lot of range units. We will obviously not pen him in and allow his army to arrive, but we will fire upon it as it does. Here we go. Boris is going to immediately get netted down by Vile Net and lose about 25% of his HP as the Shades and the Corsairs and the Raven Heralds all fire at what they need to. There we go, and the second Vile Net is also working. Looks like some of the Shades are having a little bit of a difficult time firing. At least, okay, no, they're fine now. Something might have been blocking them off. Anyway, Boris Ursus has already fallen pincushion. The Patriarch is in no better shape, down to 500 HP, and the poor Frostworm is going to be tied up as well. In the meantime, in the background, we have charged on in with the Dark Riders and the Doomfire Warlocks combination. You know, weirdly, we haven't gotten any trait that has buffed Doomfire Warlocks. I could have sworn that there was one, that one existed. I thought I remembered one from my Malekith campaign, but maybe I'm misremembering? Or maybe we just didn't have the luck to draw one in this particular time around. I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, the Raven Heralds snipe that poor Frostworm. And it looks like Boris's army is pretty much done. We're going to back out the Dark Riders and the units of Marked for Thirst and the other Doomfire Warlocks, mostly because the remnants of the enemies need to be shot down by our Quarrelers. Not Dark Shards, but anyway. Everybody crossbow units. There we go, that's the one. And we don't want to do more damage to our own relatively fragile light cav than the enemy did. Does look like one last desperate charge while in by our blood from the light war sleds, but similar to everybody else, they will get destroyed. Does look like our murderous prowess will unfortunately activate. I was hoping that it wouldn't, because we were going to hopefully make better use of it in the enemy settlement, but it's all good. Also feels appropriate for an army with Shades and Dark Riders and whatnot, and the Raven Heralds to not quite ambush the enemy army, but, you know, sort of. Frankly, the enemy probably had a better chance here than they would have had if we had taken the enemy settlement first anyway, because then, if they had gone as the reinforcements to the enemy settlement, we would have been holding the choke points, and then they would have just been able to do nothing whatsoever. Here, at least, we were able to get the Dark Riders and the Doomfire Warlocks a fight, even without a trait that buffs them. Anyway, the last of the enemy units, a unit of Kislevite warriors attempting to make their way out of there, staggered by the great sword-wielding Shades, losing their heads all around. And with that, wow, these guys have a tendency to lose their heads, don't they? Well, not like they were using them. Anyway, with that, Borosaurus' army is destroyed as if it never were, and as usual, the By Our Blood has a tendency to work against the AI. If you're not going for an anti-leadership sort of deal, the AI sticking around in combat longer means you can just destroy units in full rather than wait for them to run off the screen. Or, you know, waste resources chasing them down. Or and time, so works quite nicely when fighting Kislevites on occasion. Anyway, we do have short-range shades, very short-range shades in this particular army, with the shades with great swords without the shadow dart buff, with only 110 range, which is really short and shorter than pretty much any of the enemy range units. We will, however, move them to the sort of side here. The side of this cliff, and we're not going to go this way because there is a shooting tower protecting this area, and I don't want to deal with it, especially because it's going to take a while to bring it down. If the sorceress was on a Dark Pegasus, I would have maybe sent her there together with the Raven Heralds. The Raven Heralds also have very limited ammunition. Admittedly, they've been using it to great effect as they have been sniping single entities and all that, but anyway. Wouldn't want to waste that ammunition on the tower, especially as an SFO. Towers take considerably less damage as a building from a basic sort of range fire, as opposed to anti-building type fire. But anyway, time to start fighting the enemy units inside the enemy settlement. Armored Cossars with that bi-directional or omnidirectional or just directional shielding that they have. 65% missile block at the front. Will that be enough? I guess we're going to have to find out. At least we're out of the way of the enemy tower, and our handbows will start doing work on those armored Cossars, though with the fragility of the armored Cossars, it might actually be more effective to just wade into melee rather than bothering to charge them. So we're going to drop a little bit of Black Arc support on them, going to net them down first so that they cannot run. There we go. Then that big old comet's going to come down. Of course, the enemy's formation will be disrupted. They'll take a little bit more damage from the handbows. And hey, if they're willing to close the distance with us as well, I'm perfectly happy with that. And any enemy units that are on the edge here will also get deleted by the shades, which are in range if the enemy is close to the cliffside. Works for me. Alright, Death Hag on her Shrine of Cain, mowing down enemies and moving through their lines. Having 100 kills and 15,000 damage is pretty solid already, you gotta admit. The Death Hags do pretty well on these things. You can also sort of make them into chariots by buffing up their speed and giving them additional, giving them like the Banner of Swiftness and stuff. Maybe we should use one of these guys to lead some chariots in another army. And there's certainly a possibility for that, especially considering their mass. They can potentially disrupt formations as the tip of a spear type deal. Maybe we'll try that with the army with the Cold One chariot, since they're a little bit more melee based. Just gotta remember to give one of them the Banner of Swiftness and something that buffs their speed. Not that it needs a massive amount of buff, as frankly, the Banner of Swiftness alone would probably put them on par with the chariots in terms of their pure speed. It's not like the chariots are moving as fast as Light Cav. Speaking of Light Cav, we do have the Dark Riders and the Doomfire Warlocks. 3 have moved into the enemy settlement, and the other 3 are moving around to another location, and just making sure that they catch any isolated units of Cossars, armored, unarmored. It hardly matters. They're all gonna fall either way. And this army has certainly used the Dark Riders to pretty solid effect before, a couple of episodes ago, I guess, when they managed to take that settlement, effectively only using the Dark Riders and Doomfire Warlocks, while the rest of the army simply distracted the enemy by sitting outside the gate, which was pretty neat. Anyway, looks like the battle is very nearly ours now. The bounce is only 70% in our favor, but it's sort of deceptive, as we've almost reached critical mass here. There isn't too much in the way of enemy defenders left. And a decent amount of them are blobbed up as well, so the Flock of Doom will work all that much harder. And if we should want to drop a little bit more Black Ark support, I don't think anybody's going to say no to that. We got more of our cav moving into the enemy settlement now. What do we have here? Armored Cossars and regular Cossars. Alright, well, good luck to them. The Death Hag will lead the piles of the Black Ark Corsairs, while the Shades are not really needed, so we're just going to leave them out there. Frankly, they're going to be a danger to our own units, which are now fighting in melee, and we don't necessarily want them to take damage from the armor-piercing Shades. Anyway, we were about to charge, but then we stop, wait for the Doom Bolt to hit the enemy, disrupting their formation and doing damage, and then hitting this poor unit of Cossars from 3 sides. And just like that, the light cav will absolutely delete those Cossars. Beautiful. We have relatively little in the way of armor-piercing damage, unfortunately, on the Dark Riders, but that's one of the reasons we like to intersperse the units of Doomfire Warlocks. They don't have crazy amount of armor-piercing damage, but it's better, and they apply that lethal poison, so it helps out quite a bit. Alright, and with that Armored Cossar unit will become unbreakable as they're in By Our Blood, but they're pretty much done. The balance of power shifts to 95% in our favor, and I think the entire enemy army is just running out the By Our Blood clock. Less than 30 seconds remain until the last of them shatter, and the battle is well and fully ours. The last of the enemy units attempt to fight back-to-back, completely surrounded by Corsairs, and there's another unit here that's in By Our Blood despite being at full HP. Probably should have attempted at least to participate in the fight. One last little charge from the Raven Heralds. This guy's just hovering over them. Hey, and then sending a few of them flying, and oh no! He'll be back. Maybe. Anyway, there we go. With that, the last of the enemies are done, and the battle is ours. Lovely little fight. Alrighty, there we go. Very, very nice work for these guys. And, ooh, 21,000 and 19,000 damage on Marked for Thirst and Hoeth's Forsaken, our 2 Doomfire Warlock units. Though weirdly, Wavebreakers and Grey Vanguard were outdone by the 2 unnamed Dark Riders this time around. Raven Heralds always do well, 31,000 damage on them, and very solid damage deltas gold value at 38k. I like to use them as snipers, so they were pretty instrumental in bringing down the Warbear Riders, Borosursus, and the Frostworm and the Light War Sleds there. Lots of great work out of the Corsairs, though this time the Shades were not the stars of the show. They still managed to rack up 10 to 13k damage. Lovely. I guess we'll sack the place. We're not looking to keep it, so we're just here to annoy everybody. Again, playing this campaign to... Ooh, another Rubric of Dark Dimensions, very nice. Playing this campaign to be as appropriately Dark Elven as possible, which I think has been working out pretty nicely. Anyway, I wonder if Mr. Anton Isenyev will go to Ormskaro next. I guess we'll find out. But we'll find out next time because we're out of time. I'm going to call the episode here. I'll end the turn between the episodes and do the Tech Thief moving at that time. So when we come back, we can head on in to more Black Ark action. Stay tuned for more Lokhir. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below. All glory to the algorithm. And hopefully we get to fight Carl next episode. And thanks for watching.